This month has been quite profitable for most altcoins, but some meme coins, especially the larger ones on the Solana blockchain, are outperforming the rest. The question is why, and will this rally continue? Let's have a look at some data most people aren't looking at. Specifically, we discuss Bonk today. Yes, there is a lot of demand for pudgy penguins as well, but we've already made quite a few videos on Pengu. Pudgy penguins does have a lot of attention, but that's not necessarily true for Bonk. So both tokens are appreciating, but probably for different reasons. Here is the recent video on Bonk published on this channel 5 days ago. That video underperformed the average video on this channel. And when we have a look at the most viewed cryptocurrencies in the last 24 hours, Pudgy Penguins is at number 2, but Bonk is only at number 9. And the market caps are very comparable. 2.7 billion versus 2.5 billion. Let's continue with the comparisons. So here is now the Bonk chart in US dollars. This is what most people probably look at. And it seems like the price is sometimes pumping, subsequently dumping. We're going up and down and up and down. And currently we tend to rather be on the higher end. Now this is in US dollars versus Solana. It seems like the tops align even a bit better. We can even draw a curved line through those tops, which would not necessarily tell a very bullish story about Bonk. We can't draw a similar line for just the US dollar chart because this end of 2024 run was also supported by Solana itself going up. But if you just look at the outperformance, the rally was very comparable to prior rallies. Let's have a look at Bonk relative to Pudgy Penguins, relative to the Trump token, relative to Fartcoin, all of those other larger Solana meme coins. Because this is how I see crypto fundamentally. It's a capital rotation game. Sometimes a lot of attention and a lot of capital is on one token, then over time it moves to the next token. So it's always about catching the current trend. Bonk is still the number 1 within the meme coin space on Solana. And here is Bonk relative to Pudgy Penguins. Isn't that interesting? This chart gives the perspective that maybe Pengu might be overvalued now, and that Bonk could potentially outperform Pudgy Penguins by maybe 80%, potentially even 200%. Let's have a look at Bonk relative to the Trump token. That's this chart over here. And this is no surprise. The Trump token tends to underperform most other cryptocurrencies because of its high token inflation. So Trump launched with a lot of market cap at the beginning. Everybody talked about the token. Even traditional media talked about the president of the United States launching an official meme coin. And so the market cap of Trump at the time was at around $8 billion. But also the token supply grows over time. The early investors and especially the internal team can cash out over time. And so it's no surprise that Bonk outperforms Trump long term. And I do expect this trend to continue. Let's have a look at Bonk relative to Fartcoin. That's this chart over here. Initially, the market makers and the centralized exchanges also cashed out quite a bit with Bonk. But now the token inflation has slowed down somewhat. And then Fartcoin got pushed, which by the way was a token launched on the Pump.Fun ecosystem. It seems like Bonk has stabilized versus Fartcoin and again his potential upside. Maybe by 350%, maybe even more. I do think though that this comparison is somewhat misleading. Because in the early days, Fartcoin was extremely small and another 3000% return, it would not necessarily imply Bonk going up that much. Because a 30x in the market cap would put us at $60 billion close to Dogecoin. Very unlikely that that's going to happen. The chart tells us rather a story around Fartcoin, how Fartcoin might potentially lose ground again. But that's a topic of another video. One more comparison, Bonk against another OG meme coin on Solana, Dog with Head. Here is the chart. Bonk tends to underperform WIF and is rather now at the upper end of the trading range. So with most relative valuation charts, Bonk actually looks like a better deal. Long term, this might also be true for Dog with Head, but short term with WIF seems to be a bit cheaper. The recent rally in Bonk did increase its attention to a degree though. The activity on the Solana chain has increased. On the left side we see the number of first-time traders versus recurring traders over time. On the right side we see the number of token transactions over time. Yes, relative to Pudgy Penguins it's still not that high, but still the overall trend is pretty bullish. There are more first-time traders almost every single day in the last month. But of course, trading volume has moved away from the Solana chain more to the centralized exchanges because market makers bought up the token and because there's more and more perpetual futures trading volume. On the left side, we see the trading volume in US dollars on the Solana chain over time. And yes, this is spiking up a bit, but it's nowhere near the early days when the token established its current ranking. On the right, we see the trading volume based on different wallet thresholds. Small retail is all the wallets that have less than $1,000 worth of the token. So a lot of the on-chain transactions still happen by small retail for Bonk. But as we can already see with the spot trading volume in US dollars on the Solana chain, that's not necessarily where now the price discovery happens. The price discovery now happens on the bets on the price, so on the perpetual futures exchanges. Most people that bet on Bonk think that the price will go up because the funding rate is positive. So the longs have to pay the shorts in order to bet on rising prices most of the time. Thus, whenever there's a bit of volatility, there seems to be some longs that get liquidated as well. There is a problem though, and that is perpetual futures capital tends to be very short-term in nature. What we see here in green is the open interest. So how many dollars are currently being bet on the Bonk price? And this tends to fluctuate over time, and it tends to peak at somewhere between 60 and 70 million US dollars, and it tends to correlate a lot with the spot price as well. As there are less bets on the price, the spot price tends to follow. And currently we are at similar heights compared to November of last year in terms of open interest. And now maybe we are coming down again. And as open interest falls, the Bonk price will follow very likely as well. The general problem with crypto as a whole is that there's more and more token emissions. So a lot of projects launch and the founders want to pay themselves. The early investors, the venture capitalists want to pay themselves. Maybe there was also some marketing expenses. So some YouTubers might get an allocation and then sell the token. And the retail investors have to support all of that selling for the prices to stay stable. This here is the weekly token emissions of the entire altcoin market that's tracked on this website, tokenomist.ai. And it's pretty much above 600 or at least $500 million every single week. If the inflows into crypto are slower than that, then the altcoins have to go down, at least relatively speaking. For example, have a look at this here. This is the DeFi protocol 1inch. So it's a decentralized exchange aggregator. It got a lot of usage in the past. But the problem is that the circulating supply grew massively as well, right? From 100 million to now 1.4 billion. And that then leads to 1inch doing much worse than Bitcoin or Ethereum. This is 1inch relative to Ethereum. Or have a look at this. This is Optimism, right? A leading layer 2 scaling solution on top of Ethereum. It started out with 214 million tokens and it's now at 1.6 billion tokens. And that's the long-term chart relative to Ethereum. And so there are several consequences from this, right? We cannot afford to own a lot of different altcoins because the vast majority of altcoins underperforms Bitcoin and Ethereum most of the time because of that token inflation. But also picking a single winner here and there is very hard because, again, most tokens do worse. So it's like picking the needle in a haystack. Some people simply just stick with Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana then and forget the rest of the altcoin market. But I actually think there's an opportunity here because if we have constant underperformance, we can bet on that. We can bet on the underperformance to continue and make money from that. So instead of getting this performance by buying 1inch, we flip this around. We bet on falling prices of 1inch and bet on rising prices of Ethereum at the same time. So this is the same chart, just flipped. And this is simply using decentralized finance to do exactly that setup. We are betting on Ethereum to outperform 1inch. Same here for Optimism, right? Instead of buying Optimism, we are just betting on falling prices of Optimism relative to Ethereum. So in the last year, that position performed 150% roughly. Now try to make 150% in a year just by plain simply buying an altcoin. It's much easier said than done. Yes, there are some outliers. There is this Arrowbot and this DRGN and this SNSY token, but the vast majority of altcoins is just going down. And so instead of trying to find the next Arrowbot, I think it's better to just flip this around and everything that's red becomes green and everything that's green becomes red. So then we've got the odds in our favor. We don't try to pick the needle in the haystack. Instead, we bet on the haystack, on the vast majority to do poorly. And again, there is a fundamental reason for that underperformance, right? It's all of those insiders selling all the time. The venture capitalists, the team, etc. Maybe even the users of the platform that get incentivized incentivized in tokens to use the platform. Have a look at the altcoin market cap relative to Bitcoin in the last 3.5 years. It underperformed by 75%. And if you flip that around, we've got an outperformance of almost 300%. So this is now Bitcoin divided by the altcoin market cap. I'm following this strategy already for quite a while. What we see over here is my portfolio performance in the last 4 years roughly relative to had I just dollar cost average into Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin dollar cost averaging is in gray and my portfolio line is that one in black. This is monthly data out of my personal Excel sheet. We're now at month 44. I did this mainly with borrowing in lending platforms like Aave and Venus Finance, but recently I changed to perpetual futures, and this is even more productive. I started the test 2.5 months ago with 40K, and that turned into 60K, again, just in 2.5 months. And so the premium members of this channel asked me, is there maybe a way we can just provide some capital to you and you do those relative valuation trades for us? And so I opened just that. It started 6 days ago, so there's no real sample size yet, but so far it has made 3.5%. I'm happy if we do 10% per month. I don't think we'll make 50% in 2.5 months again. But in general, we are moving in the right direction. And again, it makes a lot of sense, right? Most altcoins do worse than Bitcoin or Ethereum. We don't really have to be that scientific about it. If you want to learn how to become a winner in crypto and how to set up those relative valuation trades, where then the VCs and the insiders don't dump on you, but you're actually making money when they are dumping, then feel free to check out all of those tutorial videos, right? There's more than 100 tutorial videos in premium. I'm of course sharing my own trades as well, and then you can simply copy trade and take advantage of those trades as well. There are many opportunities out there, so feel free to check out the community as well. And so if you're an active trader, you can simply sign up for the monthly membership. It's $125 per month. You can watch all the tutorials, you can copy trade me as well. And once you're joining, I will also share my favorite trade. And if that favorite trade doesn't make you money in the first month, I will refund you 100% of that membership fee. So really, you don't really have a risk of joining here. You're either making your money back or it's for free for you. If you are not an active trader though, and you simply just want to allocate capital, you've got more capital than time, then you can sign up for the annual membership. Here you also get 2 months for free, so $250. And with the annual membership, you also get access to the automated copy trading feature, where you can simply just send money to Hyperliquid. So that's the platform that I'm using. And you get the exact same trading performance that I'm getting as well. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in premium. Cheers.